Taco Bell, the American fast food giant with over 7,000 locations worldwide. A brand so ingrained in American culture that it's been featured in everything from blockbuster films to viral memes. It's the chain that sells over 2 billion tacos every single year. And fun fact, it even supplies tortillas to NASA for astronauts aboard the International Space Station. Yeah, Taco Bell is literally feeding people in orbit. But here on Earth, there's one place where Taco Bell's magic is failing to launch: Australia. How does a $10 billion brand backed by Collins Foods, the same company that successfully operates hundreds of KFC outlets across Australia, fumble its expansion into a country that already loves fast food? Why has Taco Bell been forced to pause new store openings and write down the value of existing ones? And more intriguingly, why aren't Aussies buying into a brand that Americans practically worship during their midnight snack runs? Today, we're unpacking why Taco Bell is flopping in Australia. And trust me, this story goes way beyond just tacos and burritos. Let's rewind the clock. Taco Bell and Australia's relationship is like an awkward on-again, off-again fling. It started back in the 1980s when Taco Bell first dipped its toes into the Australian market. But within a few short years, they were out. No big splash, no legacy, just a quiet exit. And if that wasn't complicated enough, Taco Bell found itself locked in a legal battle with a small Australian Mexican restaurant chain that, get this, was also called Taco Bell. After years of back and forth, the American brand finally cleared the way for a fresh start. Fast forward to 2017, and Taco Bell was officially back in business in Australia, this time with Collins Foods leading the charge. Collins Foods, by the way, isn't just some random operator. They're the company behind KFC Australia, one of the country's most successful fast food chains. With that level of expertise and infrastructure, expectations were sky high. The relaunch kicked off with a bang. Crowds lined up, social media lit up, and it looked like Taco Bell was finally going to make its mark down under. But here we are, years later, and the narrative has shifted. In late 2024, Collins Foods announced they were pressing pause on further Taco Bell expansion across Australia. Several locations have underperformed, forcing the company to take substantial write-downs, a corporate red flag that basically screams, this isn't going according to plan. And for a company used to running wildly successful KFC outlets, Taco Bell's sluggish performance is raising big questions. So why is this happening? On paper, Taco Bell seems like it should work. Fast casual Mexican food, an established global brand, and a market like Australia where fast food is practically part of the national diet. But here's where things get interesting. It's not just about opening restaurants, it's about how people connect with what you're selling. Let's talk about culture. In the US, Taco Bell is more than food. It's a cultural phenomenon. It owns the late-night, affordable, slightly quirky Tex-Mex space. People expect crunchy tacos smothered in orange cheese, Baja Blast to wash it down, and maybe a Doritos shell to top it all off. In America, this kind of fast, fun, and slightly outrageous food works because it taps into decades of nostalgia and late-night college memories. But in Australia, that connection just isn't there. In fact, Aussies have a very different relationship with Mexican cuisine. Over the past decade, Australia has seen a boom in fresh, fast casual Mexican restaurants. Brands like Guzman y Gomez and Mad Mex have trained Australians to expect burritos and tacos made with fresh produce, hand-pulled meats, and house-made salsas. In contrast, when Taco Bell rolls up with seasoned ground beef and nacho cheese sauce, many Aussie customers see it as processed, overly Americanized fast food. The authentic Mexican vibe just isn't there. And Aussie food culture leans heavily into the idea of fresh and real ingredients, even when it comes to fast food. Adding to that, Aussie consumers are increasingly health conscious. According to reports from Australia's food industry, there's been a shift toward better for you fast food. Think free-range meats, vegan options, and minimal additives. So when Taco Bell offers up what Americans would call classic fast food Tex-Mex, it can come across as dated or even unhealthy by Aussie standards. In a market where fresh-made guac and hormone-free chicken are practically expected, Taco Bell's US formula feels out of touch. But culture is only part of the story. Let's get into the competition. The fast food landscape in Australia is brutal. You've got juggernauts like Guzman y Gomez, which now has over 200 outlets across Australia and is expanding aggressively into international markets, including the US. They've built a reputation for quality, speed, and food that's marketed as real Mexican. Then there's Mad Mex, which pushes a similar fresh and fast narrative. Even beyond these major chains, there's a growing number of independent Mexican restaurants offering everything from authentic street tacos to regional Mexican specialties. So where does Taco Bell fit in? Here's the problem. It doesn't, really. In the US, Taco Bell is unique. It's a category all its own. In Australia, it's fighting for the same customer base as brands that are arguably doing it better and with more local flavor. Taco Bell isn't offering something significantly cheaper or more authentic, so it ends up stuck in no man's land. Neither the budget-friendly option nor the go-to for quality Mexican food. And let's not ignore pricing. One of Taco Bell's biggest value props in the US is price. Cheap tacos, dollar menus, massive portions for pocket change. But in Australia, customers were shocked to find Taco Bell's prices higher than expected. In some cases, more expensive than competitors like Guzman y Gomez, which already markets itself as using premium ingredients. When Taco Bell's value equation doesn't add up, higher price, but less perceived quality, customers lose trust and foot traffic takes a hit. And Aussies are savvy. They'll quickly call out when something feels like it's not worth the money. But operationally, there might be some strategic errors too. Collins Foods may have overestimated how much brand awareness Taco Bell actually has in Australia. While KFC is basically a household name, Taco Bell doesn't have the same cultural equity. Opening in locations that don't necessarily have the late night or student heavy demographic that Taco Bell thrives on in the US might have been another fumble. Plus, early marketing focused heavily on Taco Bell's American roots. Great if you're selling nostalgia, but less effective when you're speaking to a market that doesn't have that emotional connection. Now, before we pronounce Taco Bell completely dead in Australia, it's worth mentioning they're not walking away. Collins Foods is trying to course correct. They've announced plans to enhance product offerings and improve Taco Bell's appeal by tweaking menu items to better match Australian tastes. There's talk of introducing more fresh ingredients, reconsidering portion sizes, and maybe even adjusting prices to better compete with the big local players. Essentially, they're playing catch-up in a market that's already moved past the fast food novelty phase and demands more from its dining experiences. But will that be enough? That's the million-dollar question. Some industry analysts think Taco Bell's entry may have simply come too late. Aussie consumers already have their go-to Mexican joints, and shifting consumer perception takes time, especially when initial impressions have been lukewarm. The bigger story here? Taco Bell's missteps in Australia are part of a pattern we've seen before with other American fast food brands trying to expand globally. It's a reminder that even the biggest corporations can falter when they underestimate local preferences. McDonald's and KFC have succeeded in Australia because they've spent decades adapting their menus and branding to the Aussie market. Taco Bell, on the other hand, might have bet too heavily on the belief that what works in the US will automatically click elsewhere. So what's next? Will Taco Bell evolve fast enough to win over Aussie taste buds, or will it join the growing list of international brands that learned the hard way that copy and paste doesn't always work in new markets? What do you think? Have you tried Taco Bell in Australia? Was it what you expected, or did it miss the mark? And do you think they can actually stage a comeback, or is the writing already on the wall? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and let's discuss. And if you find this insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.